the televised courtroom, had dealt with arrogant people before. But nothing close to this level. Not from someone this young, not from a teenager this privileged, and definitely not from the son of one of the wealthiest men in America. The second Adrian Vale stepped into that courtroom, the atmosphere changed so noticeably that everyone felt it immediately. The audience felt it, the officers felt it, even the production crew behind the cameras sensed the shift in energy. It wasn't ordinary disrespect, it was something heavier, something colder. The unmistakable presence of someone who genuinely believed the world existed only to serve him. Adrian didn't glance toward the plaintiff's table, he ignored the bailiff completely. He never even bothered to acknowledge Judge Maya. Instead, he walked casually through the courtroom. While scrolling on a custom titanium phone, worth thousands of dollars, chewing gum lazily, like he was killing time in a luxury hotel lobby while waiting for valet parking. This was not a teenager who feared punishment. This was a young man raised to believe punishment existed only for other people. The legal case itself looked straightforward on paper. Reckless driving, parking illegally in a handicapped space, damaging another driver's vehicle, refusing to cooperate with authorities, disrespecting a police officer carrying out his duties. But none of that became the reason the footage exploded online. What sent this hearing viral, pulling in millions of views within 2 days, came down to one single moment, one action, one arrogant gesture, so unbelievably disrespectful that it ignited a courtroom confrontation the country would never forget. Judge Maya calmly asked him for the citation. That was all. Nothing aggressive, nothing emotional. Just a professional request. "Mr. Vale," she said evenly, "please hand me the ticket." Adrian didn't hand it to her. He barely even looked up. He lifted his eyes for just a split second, enough to show that he knew exactly who she was, and simply didn't care. Then, with the careless attitude of someone tossing garbage into a trash can, he flicked the ticket toward the bench, using 2 fingers. Not respectfully placed. Not even slid across the desk. Thrown. The folded citation skidded across the judge's bench and stopped inches from her robe. The courtroom gasped instantly. Several people physically leaned backward, as if expecting an explosion. Officer Cruz stiffened immediately. Alina Brooks pressed her hand against her mouth in disbelief. Even one of the cameramen whispered quietly under his breath, barely caught by the microphone. "This kid's finished." But Adrian still wasn't done humiliating himself. He leaned back in his chair, folded his arms behind his head, and smirked arrogantly. "There," he announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Happy now? My father pays more taxes in 60 seconds than you make in an entire year. Just sign whatever you need to sign so I can get out of here." That was the moment the internet became obsessed. The moment people replayed thousands of times online. The exact second Judge Maya's expression shifted from controlled patience into something much more dangerous. Not confusion, not surprise, controlled fury. Her eyes narrowed in a way reserved for only one type of person. The kind who immediately triggers the instinct that something deeply rotten exists beneath the surface. What Adrian didn't realize was that Judge Maya had already researched him long before he entered her courtroom. She knew the whispers surrounding the Vale family. She knew about the incidents quietly settled behind closed doors. The police reports that mysteriously disappeared. The complaints that never reached trial. The victims buried beneath non-disclosure agreements and expensive legal teams. She understood. This wasn't simply a spoiled, rich teenager acting dramatic. This was someone protected by wealth so thoroughly that he no longer understood accountability at all. And today, he had directed that arrogance at the wrong judge. What nobody inside the courtroom knew, and what Adrian himself certainly didn't know, was that Maya had reviewed his history before cameras even started rolling. The moment she saw his last name, she recognized it instantly. Victor Vale, billionaire tech icon, praised by politicians, fast deed on magazine covers. Celebrated publicly as one of America's greatest business visionaries. But behind the polished image, cracks existed. Cracks filled with aggressive attorneys, hidden settlements, vanished investigations, and a son who treated life like a video game, with unlimited retries. The ticket Adrian tossed at the bench became symbolic. It wasn't just paper anymore. It represented every consequence he's had escaped his entire life. And Maya watched it land on her desk like a direct challenge. She picked it up slowly, not angrily, carefully, like a surgeon, lifting a scalpel before a difficult operation. The room became completely silent. "Mr. Vale," she said softly, almost gently. "Did you just throw this at me?" Adrian shrugged. Actually shrugged. "Can we speed this up?" he replied carelessly. "I've got lunch reservations." The arrogance was unbelievable. The disrespect was suffocating. The terrifying confidence of someone who truly believed a judge had no authority over him. Judge Maya inhaled slowly, and then everything changed. "Stand up," she ordered sharply. The command sliced through the courtroom instantly. Adrian smirked again, rolling his eyes as he obeyed. At that moment, nobody in the audience fully understood what was about to happen. Nobody realized Maya was preparing to reveal information that would completely destroy Adrian's confidence, damage his reputation, and shake the public image of his entire family. Nobody understood this hearing was about to spiral into a national scandal. Headlines would soon dominate every platform. Billionaire's son, humiliated on television. Judge Maya exposes hidden record. Privilege collides with justice. But even before it happened, everyone in that courtroom could feel it coming. The storm was building, and Adrian Vale, the teenager arrogant enough to throw a ticket at a judge, was standing directly in the center of it. Adrian remained standing, but the smug confidence he walked into the courtroom with was beginning to weaken. Judge Maya studied him carefully, refusing to react to his eye rolls, his attitude, or the disrespect radiating from him. The silence stretched long enough that even Adrian started looking uncomfortable for the first time that day. Then Maya finally spoke. "Mr. Vales," she said slowly, "how old are you?" 19, he answered flatly, sounding bored. 19, Maya repeated calmly, almost as if she was weighing the number carefully. "And in those 19 years, how many times have you been cited for reckless behavior?" Adrian actually laughed, not nervously, not awkwardly, confidently. "You'd have to ask my assistant," he replied casually. "I don't keep track of little things like that." The audience gasped again. Judge Maya didn't. Instead, she reached for a folder, a thick folder, far thicker than Adrian expected, the kind of file that immediately signals danger inside a courtroom. "This," Maya said, while tapping the folder calmly. Is your driving record? Adrian's smirk twitched. Just slightly. His confidence didn't completely disappear, but it cracked, and Maya noticed the crack instantly. She opened the folder. 6 speeding warnings, she began. Not tickets, warnings. 2 reckless driving citations that mysteriously never reached court. A hit-and-run investigation closed due to insufficient evidence, and a fire lane parking violation that vanished from the system the same day it appeared. The room became dead silent. Officer Cruz clenched his jaw tightly. Elena Brooks looked horrified. The audience whispered among themselves in disbelief. Adrian swallowed hard before forcing another arrogant shrug. My dad handled all of that, he muttered. None of it was serious. Maya's eyes lifted sharply. Hand, she repeated coldly. Interesting choice of wording. Adrian opened his mouth to defend himself, but Maya raised her hand immediately. I'm not finished. She flipped another page. This case began because you parked illegally in a handicapped spot at a community grocery store. Why? Adrian answered without hesitation. Because the other spots were full. You knowingly parked in a protected handicapped space because walking farther inconvenienced you? Adrian rolled his eyes dramatically. There were like 8 handicap spots, he scoffed. Nobody was using them. It's not a huge deal. Maya's tone sharpened instantly. It is a huge deal to the people who need those spaces. It matters to the law, and it matters to this court. I was only there for 2 minutes. Adrian snapped back. Elena Brooks finally spoke. 2 minutes? She asked emotionally. You were inside at least 10. Your car blocked my access ramp. Adrian turned toward her with open contempt. Did anyone ask you to speak? The courtroom erupted into horrified murmurs. Even his confidence couldn't shield him from the reactions spreading around the room. Judge Maya's voice cracked through the courtroom like a whip. Mr. Vale, you will not speak to her like that again. Am I understood? Adrian looked away and muttered quietly, whatever. Maya narrowed her eyes even further. Then she flipped another page in the folder. Let's discuss what happened after you parked illegally, she said calmly. Officer Cruz approached you and requested identification. According to his report, your response was. She lifted the page and read aloud. Bro, I don't have to give you anything. My dad owns half the politicians in this city. The courtroom exploded again. Adrian's face flushed red immediately. Not embarrassment, anger. That's not what. You said it? Maya interrupted it sharply. Officer Cruz recorded the interaction on body camera, including the moment you threw the citation onto the pavement and told him, my father will make this disappear before your shift ends. That detail hit Adrian hard. His smirk disappeared completely, but Maya still wasn't finished. She reached deeper into the folder. You know what else is interesting? She asked quietly. Too quietly. The kind of quiet that terrified courtrooms. This isn't the first time you've thrown something at law enforcement. 3 months ago, during another traffic stop, you threw your driver's license at a state trooper. That's not illegal, Adrian snapped, panic starting to rise in his voice. No, Maya replied calmly. But your attitude is deeply concerning. Then she leaned forward. But what concerns me even more is what happened afterward. The room leaned in. Even Adrian looked nervous now. That traffic stop disappeared. Maya continued. The citations vanished. The officer's complaint was removed from the system. And, during that exact same week, Your father donated $25,000 to the Police Youth Outreach Fund. Adrian tightened his jaw. Maya wasn't technically accusing anyone. She didn't need to. She simply laid out the pattern clearly enough for everyone to see. This, she said, while lifting the folder again, is a 19-year-old with a long documented history of reckless behavior who has never once experienced accountability. Adrian shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His breathing became faster. The audience watched closely as the teenager, who arrogantly tossed a ticket at a judge, slowly realized this courtroom was different. This judge was different. And this time, his father's wealth wasn't going to save him. Maya closed the folder gently and folded her hands together. Today, she said calmly, accountability has finally arrived. Adrian's posture had completely changed now. His arms were no longer stretched confidently behind his head. The smug expression had disappeared. And the most obvious sign, the one Maya noticed immediately, was the panic flickering behind his eyes. The expression of someone who had never truly been challenged before and suddenly had no idea how to respond. Judge Maya never gloated. She didn't yell. She didn't dramatize anything. She simply observed him with the cold precision of a surgeon examining something dangerous. Mr. Vale, she said evenly, do you know what entitlement looks like? Adrian hesitated. It looks exactly like this, Maya interrupted sharply. A young man who believes the law does not apply to him because of his father's name. Adrian bristled instantly. My father has nothing to do with this. Oh, Maya replied quietly. He absolutely does. She picked up another document. This file is thinner, she said, but significantly more revealing. Adrian looked uneasy. This is a formal complaint submitted by your previous driving instructor. Adrian's head snapped upward. What complaint? The one where you stated, Assis, Maya said, while reading directly from the report, I don't need to learn safe driving. If I crash my car, my dad will just buy me another one. Disgust spread through the courtroom. Elena shook her head slowly. Officer Cruz glared at Adrian with visible anger. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a moment. Adrian clenched his fists tightly. He twisted my words, he snapped. He just hated rich people. In fact, Maya answered calmly, he filed this complaint after you nearly caused an accident in a student parking lot and refused to apologize afterward. She read directly from the report again. Student Adrian Vale accelerated recklessly through a crowded school parking area, nearly striking two pedestrians. When instructed to slow down, he replied, Relax. Relax. Nobody here matters enough for it to matter. The room fell silent again. Horrified silence. Maya allowed the weight of those words to settle fully before continuing. And according to school records, this was not an isolated event. You have a documented pattern of escalating entitlement, dangerous behavior, and disrespect. Adrian's voice cracked suddenly. Those records are sealed. They were, Maya corrected calmly, until your attorney categorized this case as a small claims matter, making your behavioral history relevant to credibility and judgment. That hit Adrian like a physical punch. His jaw dropped. He glanced nervously toward the cameras. For the first time, suddenly aware millions of people would eventually watch this. Your Honor, he said desperately, you're making this way bigger than it is. I was just careless. Careless? Maya replied. Disrespectful. Irresponsible. Dangerous. Yes, Mr. Vale, I agree. No, Adrian protested loudly. You're making me sound like a criminal. Maya stared at him calmly. Am I? She asked quietly. Shh. Or are you simply upset, because for the first time in your life, nobody is cleaning up your mess for you? Adrian froze completely. The truth hit him so hard, he physically flinched. And Maya kept going. Maya continued speaking without raising her voice. But every word landed harder than the last. Let's return to the reason we are here today, she said evenly. You threw your citation at Officer Cruz. You threw your ticket at this court. And throughout this entire process, you've thrown around your family name and your father's influence as if the law is optional for you. Adrian's face burned red. I didn't mean. Yes, you did, Maya interrupted immediately. You behaved exactly the way you wanted to behave, because nobody in your life ever stopped you. Then she turned toward Elena Brooks. Miss Brooks, Maya said gently. Please explain to the court what happened after Mr. Vale parked in the handicapped space. Elena inhaled shakily. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear anymore, but emotion. He blocked my access ramp, she explained softly. I couldn't unload my walker from the vehicle. I honked for him to move his car, but he laughed at me. The courtroom became silent. Elena swallowed hard before continuing. He stood there filming me while I struggled. He said, Wait, hold on, I want to send this to my friends. A wave of disgust spread through the room. Officer Cruz looked furious. Judge Maya slowly turned back toward Adrian. Is that true? Adrian's lips trembled slightly. I was joking, he muttered weakly. Joking? Maya repeated coldly. You humiliated a disabled woman in public and considered it entertainment? Adrian rubbed both hands across his forehead anxiously. I didn't know she was disabled. Maya's response came instantly. You parked in a handicapped spot. The sign was directly in front of you. Adrian stammered helplessly. I didn't think it mattered. Maya leaned back slowly, disappointment heavy in her expression. That, she said quietly, is exactly the problem. You didn't think people mattered. Adrian swallowed hard. Sweat gathered along his forehead now. The billionaire confidence was cracking apart piece by piece, and Maya was nowhere near finished. She reached for another document. This, she explained, is a letter submitted by your father's legal advisor requesting that this court handle your case with sensitivity because of publicity concerns. Adrian immediately closed his eyes. His father knew. Victor Vale already understood what was happening. He knew his son wasn't emotionally prepared for public accountability, but Judge Maya didn't care about public relations. She cared about justice. She placed the letter down calmly before looking directly at Adrian again. Your father may be able to purchase lawyers, settlements, and silence, she said sharply, but he cannot purchase decency. He cannot purchase humility. And he cannot purchase control over this courtroom. Adrian's breathing became shallow. His fingers shook visibly now. The arrogance he entered with had vanished completely. Gone was the smirk, Joan was the swagger, Joan was the billionaire armor. For the first time in his privileged life, Adrian Vale experienced genuine fear, not fear of his father, not fear of embarrassment. Fear of a judge who saw through him completely and refused to protect him from consequences. Judge Maya folded her hands together. Now, she said softly, let's discuss punishment. That sentence shattered whatever confidence Adrian still had left. His shoulders curled inward, His breathing became uneven. The teenager who entered acting, untouchable, now looked exactly what he truly was. A frightened 19-year-old standing before someone who could no longer be manipulated by wealth or status. Judge Maya watched him carefully, calmly, the kind of calm that exists directly before a storm. "Mr. Vale," she began, "what do you believe should happen when someone behaves recklessly, endangers others, disrespects law enforcement, and shows absolutely no remorse?" Adrian stared downward, silently. "Go ahead," Maya pressed. "Tell the court what consequence seems fair to you." After several seconds, he muttered quietly, "A warning." The courtroom reacted immediately. Not cruel laughter, disbelief, pure disbelief. Adrian's head snapped upward, humiliation flooding his face. Judge Maya lifted an eyebrow slowly. "A warning?" she repeated. "After endangering people, mocking a disabled woman, disrespecting an officer, and throwing a citation at a judge?" Adrian swallowed hard. "I didn't mean." "Stop saying that." Maya snapped sharply. "You meant every single thing you did because nobody ever forced you to stop." Adrian opened his mouth again, but Maya silenced him with a raised hand. "You fem has spent your entire life protecting you from reality." Then she reached deeper into the folder and removed another document that immediately made Adrian recoil. "My staff contacted the grocery store manager," she explained calmly. "They provided additional security footage from the parking lot." Adrian went pale instantly, his jaw tightened. Maya continued, mercilessly. "The footage clearly shows you laughing, while Miss Brooks struggled with her walker. It shows you recording her on your phone. It shows you mocking her disability." The room became deathly silent. "And," Maya continued while reading directly from the report, "it also records you telling your friend over speakerphone, 'Watch this lady struggle.' This is hilarious." The courtroom collectively inhaled in horror. Adrian's voice cracked. "I didn't know the parking lot had cameras." Maya leaned forward. "You didn't know because you assumed nobody would ever hold you accountable." Then she paused. "But today, someone finally did." Tears began forming in Adrian's eyes. Privilege rarely collapses quietly, it collapses violently. And Adrian Vale was collapsing in real time, but Maya still wasn't done. She lifted another statement. "This is testimony from the assistant grocery manager," she explained. "According to him, when he approached you and asked you to move your vehicle, you responded." She glanced down at the page. "Call whoever you want. I don't answer to minimum wage workers." Adrian's voice trembled helplessly. "I was angry. I didn't mean it like that." "No," Maya corrected sharply, "you were cruel, and cruelty is far more dangerous." For the first time, Adrian truly broke. "I was just trying to impress my friends," he whispered weakly. Judge Maya shook her head slowly. "You weren't impressing anyone," she replied. "You were humiliating yourself. And now the entire country is about to see who you really are." Adrian panicked visibly. "This is going on television?" Maya stared at him coldly. "Everything here is being recorded." Adrian sank into his chair, gripping the edge tightly, like it was the only thing holding him together. Then Maya reached for another document. "Now let's discuss your father." Adrian froze instantly. Fear flashed across his face. "Why are you bringing him into this?" "Because," Maya answered calmly, "your father attempted to influence this hearing." Adrian's eyes widened completely. What? Maya began reading from the letter. Please handle Adrian's case with discretion. My son is under severe emotional pressure due to our family's public reputation. A harsh ruling may create reputational consequences extending far beyond this courtroom. Adrian buried his face in his hands. Oh my God. Maya placed the letter down firmly. Your father is not worried about your character, Mr. Vale. He's worried about headlines, investors, public image. Adrian looked shattered. And there's something else, Maya continued. Your father attempted to send a representative into this courtroom. My staff denied entry because this case belongs to you, not him. Adrian squeezed his eyes shut tightly, overwhelmed by humiliation. But Maya continued, not to destroy him, but to finally break through a lifetime of protection and entitlement. Her tone softened slightly. You've been taught a lie your entire life, Mr. Vale. The lie that money protects you. The lie that influence creates immunity. The lie that your actions don't matter. Adrian looked upward, tears running freely now. Maya finished the thought for him. But today, those lies end. The courtroom sat in total silence. Then Maya leaned forward one final time. Because inside this courtroom, she said coldly, everyone is equal, and you will face the same consequences as any other 19-year-old who endangered people, mocked a disabled woman, disrespected an officer, and disrespected this court. Adrian's chest rose rapidly. He no longer looked powerful. He looked terrified, like a boy suddenly realizing he was no longer protected from reality. And the hammer was about to fall. The courtroom atmosphere felt unbearably heavy. Even the cameras seemed to move closer instinctively, as though everyone understood. This was the moment everything would collapse completely. Adrian sat hunched forward, trembling now, not from anger, but from the realization that his father's wealth, his last name, and his privilege meant absolutely nothing here. Judge Maya folded her hands and spoke calmly. Mr. Vale, she said, stand up. Adrian rose slowly on shaking legs. He looked like someone who had never truly stood on his own before. Look at me, Maya ordered. He did, and the second their eyes met, Adrian broke completely. Your Honor, he whispered, voice cracking. I'm sorry. The courtroom fell silent again, not because anyone felt sympathy, because nobody expected a genuine apology from him. Judge Maya didn't react. You're not sorry for your actions, she replied coldly. You're sorry you finally got caught. Adrian's face collapsed emotionally. His lips trembled violently. No words came out. The truth hurt more than the punishment. Maya continued relentlessly. You mocked a disabled woman. You used a handicapped space because convenience mattered more to you than other human beings. You disrespected law enforcement. Then you entered my courtroom and threw your citation at me as though I were beneath you. Adrian lowered his head further, and every bit of it comes from one belief. Maya continued sharply. You genuinely believe you are untouchable. His shoulders sank completely. But today, Maya said while leaning forward, you are finally going to experience the real world. She turned toward Elena Brooks. First, this court awards the plaintiff $2,500 for damages, emotional distress, and disruption caused by your behavior. Adrian nodded shakily. Okay, I'll pay it. Maya immediately corrected him. No, your father will attempt to pay it, but the judgment will remain entirely in your name until every dollar is paid through your own earned income. Adrian stared at her, in shock. He had never paid a bill himself in his entire life. But, Maya continued. Second, I am ordering 120 hours of community service. Adrian's head jerked upward. What? At the Downtown Disability Resource Center. Gasps spread across the courtroom. Adrian's face lost all color. We're not negotiating, Maya said firmly. You will assist the exact community you disrespected. You will help transport disabled patrons. You will clean equipment. You will maintain accessibility areas and parking spaces. Tears streamed down Adrian's face openly now. Real tears, painful tears. Asina Brooks wiped her own eyes quietly while continuing to watch him. Then Maya continued. Third, this court orders mandatory driving rehabilitation and psychological evaluation. You will complete every session, every assignment, every requirement. Adrian's voice cracked again. Your Honor, my father. Your father, Maya interrupted sharply, is not on trial. You are. Reality finally crushed through the last pieces of his privilege. But then, the courtroom doors suddenly opened. And Victor Vale himself walked inside. Gasps exploded throughout the room. Phones lifted instantly. The billionaire marched toward the bench in an expensive designer suit, looking like a man desperately trying to stop his empire from collapsing publicly. Your Honor, Victor said sternly. This has gone far enough. Judge Maya never flinched. It certainly has, she replied calmly. Sit down, Mr. Vale. Nobody spoke to Victor Vale that way. Nobody. His jaw tightened furiously, but he sat. Adrian turned toward him, sobbing uncontrollably. Dad. I'm in trouble. For the first time, Victor Vale looked shaken, not angry, shaken. Judge Maya addressed him directly. Your son did not need more money, she said coldly. He needed discipline, he needed accountability, he needed someone willing to tell him no. Victor's face flushed with humiliation, while cameras captured every second. Then Maya looked back at Adrian. Finally, she announced, this court is referring your case to the DMV for immediate license review. Adrian's voice trembled. You're taking my license? I am recommending suspension until every required program has been completed and you demonstrate responsible behavior. Adrian broke into sobs again. Victor Vale closed his eyes in defeat. Then, Judge Maya delivered the sentence that would dominate social media for weeks. You threw your citation at me because you believed I was beneath you, she said firmly. But today, Mr. Vale, you learned something billions of dollars cannot purchase. She paused. Respect. Her gavel slammed against the bench like thunder. Judgment for the plaintiff. Adrian collapsed into his father's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Victor held him there in silence. Ashamed not of the punishment, but of the son his privilege had created. The courtroom audience erupted into applause. Officer Cruz nodded with satisfaction. Elena Brooks exhaled deeply, finally releasing months of frustration and humiliation. And Judge Maya stood calmly at the bench, knowing she had delivered one of the most powerful rulings of her career. Because justice didn't simply speak that day, it slammed the door directly in entitlement's face.